Central that you can actually see all the agendas and so forth?
I saw Brian Black is on the call, and Brian, I can share my screen and do that, can't I?
Yes, you may.
Okay, let me give it a try here.
You are the host.
How's that?
Oh, there you go. There it is.
All you have to do is ask, huh?
That's all.
That's great, Jody.
I just got lucky there.
No, this is great.
So, hey Jody, other question. So, if you're the host, but you can close yours out, and we should be able to share our screens also, right?
Yes.
Only if she gives you permission to.
I won't ask.
And a little side note on that. You may have read some of the issues with Zoom or Ring Central, where they've been posting things that are perhaps not appropriate for work because of screen sharing things. So that's why we only limit it to the hosts. Over.
Well, I hope this is all appropriate stuff, Jody.
Me too.
So you guys heard what happened. It's only going to be city council meeting then, right?
You mean about?
No.
That's exactly the issue, yes.
Yeah.
Oh, I guess I didn't hear about that.
Pornography. 5 minutes worth of pornography popped up on the city council meeting.
Oh,
Oh boy.
Are we ready to go, Jody?
We are ready to go. I can go to the roll if you'd like.
Please go ahead. We can start the meeting.
Okay, so I have Chairman Doug Erdman and Director Bill Green. From the staff, I show Rick Shintaku, myself, Leilani, Dillian, Joe Sinakori, Roman Obzetka, Mark Sterna, Steve Deshawn, Pam Aaron King, Ryan Black, Kyle Goff, Joe McDivitt, Hal Halson, Greg Pennington, Chris Newton, and Karen Crosling. Consultants, I show Mark Donovan and Trimbach from Parsons. And then from the public, I have Cal Nelson and Eric. I have also someone on the phone. Your phone ends in 6747. I don't know who that is.
Me, Jody. It's Hal.
Hal, okay. Thanks. And then there was one other name.
You have Dave Neal on there, Jody?
Dave Neal, okay. That was it.
Jody, Trimbach is on.
Trimbach, was that you?
Yes, Jody.
Okay. So that's all I have, Doug.
Okay, that finishes the roll call. We'll go to oral communications and public comment. Are there any members of the public who would wish to comment on the agenda or any items not on the agenda we have today? Hearing none, we will move on to the consent calendar. The consent calendar has 3 items on it: the minutes from the previous meeting, the district's water and wastewater maintenance status report, and the groundwater recovery facility production report. Do any of the committee members or staff have any items they'd like pulled from the consent calendar? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I will second that, Mr. Chairman.
All right, moved and seconded. We will move on to new business. The item is the Doheny Ocean Desalination Project status update with Mark Donovan doing the briefing.
Doug, can I interrupt you for just a moment?
Oh, sure, go ahead.
Can we take a vote on those on those consent calendar items?
Oh, sure. All in favor of approving the consent calendar?
We have,
Bill?
I hate to tell you, we have to do
you got to roll. Okay, go ahead.
Yeah.
Sorry, Jody.
So we'll have Chairman Doug Erdman,
Aye.
and Director Bill Green.
Aye.
Perfect. Passes 2-0. Thank you.
Okay, now we can go on to item 4, the Doheny Ocean Desalinization Project. Over.
All right, Mark Donovan here with GHD. Good afternoon, Director Erdman and Director Green and other members. For the update, we'll go through the open task orders that GHD and our partners are currently working on. Task Order 1, General Program Management. We are continuing to work on schedule refinement, a lot of moving parts and different balls in the air, so we're just working to refine this and get a good handle on the project schedule as moving forward. Hope to have something we can publish here in the next couple of weeks, now that we've gotten some feedback from some of the regulators that I'll get into in a minute. State revolving fund loan, no updates there. The Department of Water Resources grant, the $10 million grant is in effect, and we continue to generate quarterly reports. The other grants, the Bureau of Reclamation grants, good news on that. We actually had our agreement execution kickoff meeting with Burex staff on April 7th, and that's for the initial $8.3 million in funding. So we're working with them on the paperwork, and according to them, it usually takes about 3 months to get that in place. So that was some good progress there with Bureau of Reclamation. But no word yet on round 2 funding, unfortunately. In terms of WIFIA, we're coordinating with Pamela and Field and Rollup and Associates on the next steps to get that application in the works. And in terms of public outreach, your colleagues at the A&F committee just heard a presentation from CATS on an updated task order proposal to re-engage CATS for another round of public outreach. So that will go to the full board in the coming meeting. In terms of Task Order 16, the regulatory permitting, we're making some progress on several fronts, and I've created this table that shows you a summary of each of the major permits we're working on, its submittal time, and anticipated approval. So good news on the NPDS. We did submit that package, and we had a call with Regional Board last week. We were hopeful that we might see a September-October approval timeframe. Ben Neal from Regional Board said September's probably unlikely, but they haven't had a chance to fully discuss the schedule yet. He's saying, staff limitations and then COVID-19 will probably cause some delays, but no indication yet from them. But hopefully before the end of the year, we'll get a board hearing out of Regional Board. And we've submitted our initial request to State Parks for the lease agreement. We submitted that in mid-March, and again, anticipated workout with those guys probably sometime in the fall. Coastal Commission, we anticipate submitting our package to Coastal Commission in late April. We're going to have a meeting trying to set up a meeting with the City of Dana Point first, just to touch base with them on a couple of key issues that will be worked into the permit application for Coastal. And then Coastal Commission is typically the last permit you get after NPDS in state lands. In terms of the state lands, we anticipate submitting that in early May, and then would anticipate approval after the NPDS. So the way we have it laid out right now is November, December. That might slip a little bit. Army Corps anticipates submitting that in mid-May. And the approval there, again, we're targeting fall, but that's independent of any state permitting, so that they're just their own entity there, so not subsequent to any other approvals. And the NEPA activity, now that we have the
Mark, I have a question on the schedule.
Mm-hmm.
On the Coastal Commission, and you'd mentioned going to the city. What do you think the expectations are of the city? Is the city going to want to see architectural, which we really haven't got into?
Yeah, so what we've done, Director Green, there on the architectural, you're right, they will want to see that. So we've come up with a few more example renderings to share with the city, and really just as conceptual at this point. We'll make it clear that these are conceptual, just to give them a feel for what the components may look like. and it's more with respect to, building heights and final grades and things like that. But you're right.
Not style necessarily, because the board. I know we're going to be putting this on the agenda one of these days. That the board's going to want to take a look at maybe an architectural theme for all of our future improvements down there.
That's right. We're not focusing on the architectural style, more size of buildings, dimensions, building heights, things of that nature.
Thank you. Over.
So that's the major status update on the regulatory permitting. If we can get some positive word out of regional board in terms of a good turnaround, then we could be have all major permits in hand. Maybe early calendar 2021 is what we're looking at right now. Task Order 17, this has been lingering for a little bit, the environmental site assessment. The Phase 1 ESA has been finalized, still under review for the Phase 2 ESA. We can push this off for a little bit. It's not super critical, so I think it's probably best to keep holding this one off for the time being in terms of initiating Phase 2 work. Task Order 18 is the DBOM contract development. No recent activity here. We have periodic discussions with Eric Peterson, especially legal counsel on this, but no significant work undertaken at this point in time. Additional studies that are ongoing, a few of them. The alternative energy study with Burns and McDonald. We did have some team meetings last month with the County of Orange to discuss the Prima de Checa landfill gas opportunities, and then also had separate meetings with representatives from both SoCalGas and SDG&E, and another team meeting is being scheduled for May. The financial analysis with Clean Energy Capital. Work's progressing well on that for both a 2 MGD and a 5 MGD scenario, and that's anticipated to be completed sometime in May, and so we're excited to start sharing results with the board here soon in the next few weeks. And then the other study is the third-party hydrogeology review with USGS. So we had the project scoping meeting with USGS, Santa Margarita Water District, and South Coast. And now there's just ongoing efforts to finalize that scope of work and get that study moving forward. And that is my update, so I'd be happy to answer any questions. Over.
Okay, thank you. Bill, do you have any questions? Over.
No, Doug, I'm good for now. Thank you.
Okay, and I am good for now as well. Thank you, Mark, for your report. This is an informational item, so it's just receive and file, correct, Jody? Over?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay, and if I can get my agenda up on my computer, which is locking up, I believe the next item is Tunnel Stabilization Sewer Pipeline Replacement Project, Phase 3 Parsons Amendment.
Good afternoon, Chairman and Director Green. Just wanted to cover this item for you. It's the Phase 3 instrumentation and surveying effort for our tunnel stabilization project. And so, as you're aware, we are currently in 2 phases. We just completed our Phase 2 notice of completion last week. We submitted that to the board last week and got approved. So we wrapped up Phase 2. We're right in the we've made quite a bit of progress on Phase 4, but we're on Phase 3, which we just also recently awarded, and we've submitted a notice to proceed on that effort. So as you are aware, part of that project is the tunneling component, or the remining section of the tunnel along and adjacent to Bay in Three Arch Bay along Bay Drive. And this is approximately about 340 feet of area where we're going to be essentially in a critical area where we've had some previous landslides in the past. And I know you've heard many discussions in the past about this. We have Dave Neal on the line and Joe Sinacore, who have a lot of experience with this area here, and also Joe McDivitt. And so as you've been made aware that this is a critical area where we will be mining through come the first part of the next year, we'll be entering that area. We'll be essentially remining that tunnel, enlarging it. It's a section that's been backfilled, bulkheaded and backfilled for many, many years. And so it is a sensitive area to go through, so there's quite a bit of monitoring that we will be doing as we remine that tunnel. And so a couple months ago, we did bring an item to the board with 3V geomatics for the INSAR satellite imaging monitoring of the area, which is going to be a satellite-based monitoring, which will pick up the data very regularly and establishing a good baseline for what we're doing. But we're also going to be having some essentially physical monitoring, where we will be installing equipment and instrumentation, and also perform actual field surveying to monitor the area within that stretch. And so this item is essentially for an amendment to the Parsons contract for two items. Actually, there's two. The first one is to award an amendment to the Parsons group to essentially oversee the installation and the monitoring of the geotechnical instrumentation component, which will essentially include the work that's going to be performed by a company by the name of GeoComp, which they will actually be installing the we talked about extensometers and inclinometers to essentially monitor any type of vertical or horizontal movement that might occur along that stretch as we tunnel through that area. And so we'll have essentially that equipment that's there, which will give you essentially a remote capability of monitoring the data. There will be an ongoing management of that effort by GeoComp, where they will actually collect the data and produce reports. And we will have a geotechnical consultant also on board, which is LGC Geotechnical, which they've been along for this project from day one. They've been the expert out there helping us with the design efforts, with monitoring and management of a lot of the work out there, and working with the residents in those areas. So they will also be part of this. So combined with GeoComp and LGC, the total effort for them to continue doing this monitoring over the course of this work, which is roughly 6 months, maybe less. We think we've been getting very good progress as we've constructed through these areas. We've been a little bit conservative on our estimates of time, but we believe it's going to be about 6 months worth of work to get through that 340-foot section. So the amount of effort to do that is roughly $120,000. GeoComp's component is two sections to set it up. The actual installation of the actual instrumentation is $58,700. The monitoring over the course of that period is roughly $25,000. And then LGC would then be responsible for helping coordinate the data, looking at helping analyze the data, working with staff, working with the potential outreach that we will need to have out there with the homeowners as we're out there doing the borings and installing the actual instrumentation. There will be 3 separate installations, borings out along the streets in those areas, so there will be a lot of coordination effort. And we thought Parsons was, because Parsons is already overseeing the construction management aspect of this work, it makes a lot of sense for them to be included in this effort, because they are out there in the field regularly on a daily basis, and so they have a lot of experience. So there is a small markup for that cost, which is very minor, but they will ultimately manage it all. We'll have weekly meetings, and anything that happens will be ultimately they'll be able to respond to it quickly and inform staff in the district about what's going on out there in the field. So that's one part of it. That's the instrumentation side of the work. The other side of it is the actual physical surveying of the and getting project control along that segment. So we're going to actually have a surveying firm go out there and go and install control points along the alignment there where we're talking about. And then, so there'll be that initial cost to do that, the control, and then they'll actually go out on a regular basis and do survey, actually get pickup points and get actual surveyed information along that entire period of time. So they'll be monitoring it physically out there going and getting picking up points for the elevations that we'll be monitoring. So you have multiple layers of monitoring in case there's any kind of settlement or movement in that area. So, and the GIDA surveying, it was the firm that we were recommending. We did actually go out and got proposals from three firms total. And so GIDA was a good, reputable surveying firm, and their fee was $72,560 for the work. So all total, the action items that we're recommending, the first is the amendment number 6 for the Parsons group to include all the instrumentation and monitoring and outreach for that effort, with a 10% contingency of $12,000, and then also to award the contract to GIDA surveying for $72,000 and the 10% plus a 10% contingency. And I would be happy to answer any questions, and also Dave Neal and Joe Sinacori can also provide any additional technical support and responses if you have any questions for this particular item. And that concludes my report. Over.
All right. Thank you for that report. I think because this section of tunnel is one of the more critical sections, and it also is under some very expensive real estate, I think this is cheap insurance to buy. Bill, do you have any questions? Over.
Yeah, I do. Questions and comments. First, on the comment side of things is, Mark, you did a great job on this staff report. It was very thorough and understandable. And I echo what our chairman, Doug, is saying, that how this is good insurance for us out there, because we're going into sort of uncharted territories. And secondly, my comment is I have had experience with GIDA surveying, and they're a fantastic survey company. And I tell you, even my former life 10 years ago, we used to use them as sub-consultants as well. So we were very pleased with their work. And as you can see in the cost, they're right in the ballpark there. My question would be to probably Mark or even Rick or whoever is, for those that are interested in surveying, it would be interesting to kind of see how they're, to do a little tour to see how they're doing the instrumentation implants, as well as some of the control. Well, if that's at the right time, it would.
You are muted. You can mute or unmute yourself by pressing *6.
As far as you're referring to actually visually seeing when they install the instrumentation equipment itself out in Bay Drive?
Yes.
Yeah, I'm sure we could coordinate that with the proper social distancing in place.
Yeah,
we are being very careful. We are being very careful out there from a construction standpoint, but we are definitely practicing safe procedures out there. And so, and maybe Joe or Dave can chime in on the timing. And
we won't be installing in the instruments until the fourth quarter at the earliest of 2020.
Okay.
So we anticipate being in this area with mining around February of 21. And the area that was originally bulkheaded off and sand filled in 1958 is the 340-foot area. But outside of that area, there are some Smith-Blair clamps and
you are unmuted.
Installation in 1974. So the total area we're talking about is closer to 500 feet. So that's how we laid out the instrumentation plan. We looked at areas where the area had been reportedly collapsed up to 18 feet above the original excavation. And we looked at how we were going to mine through that and the methods we were going to use. So that's where we came up with the type of plan. And with monitoring on the surface with GIDA, we're going to have we anticipate as many as 40 points. along that area that will be monitored. And the instrumentation we're using is some 3-point extensiometers. And the point of an extensiometer is to set the measurement points in the strata at each different orientation of the strata. So if we've got a clay seam coming into a sandstone coming out of that, we set one in each one of those portions of the formation so that we can look at differential movement. So we look at vertical movement. You're going to have separation off the clays from the sands. You're going to have separation from the alluvium to the top of the San Onofre Formation. That means you're collapsing below you. You may not see that on the surface yet. So those are real-time monitored 24/7 by the system we're putting in with Geocon. And then we have a horizontal movement because that ancient slide, God knows how far it goes back, but we know for sure it goes back way, way beyond the uplift in that area. So we're looking at horizontal movement there with one inclinometer. So we look at mass movement from the inclinometer. We look at differential movement between the individual beds in the formation. And then we're looking at surface expression of that with the survey points. And then we're using the satellite to give us the data points of history, which go back actually to 2010, 2013. The data cloud, the satellites pass over this area every 4 days, every inch of the Earth, every 4 days since 2013. And Infrastar stores that data, and we hired a company to take that data and tell us what's happened there and what happens while we mine through it, and then what happens after we get done. And it measures the increments in 2 millimeters. So we're going to have a very good picture of what's happening, and we're going to have the ability to react if something happens while we're mining. That's all I got.
You know, I think, yeah, well, that's plenty, Dave. No, thank you. That's a good overview. And I hope we're taking some photos when we go along. I think it'd be important. I think these would be, as we did for the tunnel itself, we made some presentations, and we have been. And I think it'd be interesting to file that with the American Congress of Survey and Mapping, as well as the California Land Surveyors. I think they'd be interested in that, and maybe even ACEC. Now I know Ralph Gaida is the current state president of ACEC, so I think he would get a bang out of that as well.
Yeah.
Good to know.
We want to publish several studies about this as we go through this. This is a very unique situation we're in, and I think it's very, very important for the district that we go through this in the most careful manner. And I think the results are going to be very important to the industries, both the tunneling industry, the surveying industry, and to the other water districts that have similar situations.
All right, were those all of your questions, Bill?
Yeah, and I'll move that we send this over to the board for authorization.
All right, I will second. Jody, can you do a roll call vote?
Certainly. Chairman Doug Erdman,
Aye.
Director Bill Green,
Aye.
and that item passes 2-0, so we'll take it to the board.
All right, we are up to item F, future agenda items. Do you have anything you'd like to add for any future agenda items, Bill? Over.
I think I mentioned that a little bit earlier. I think we need, maybe it's, it would be E&O. I think we need to get with Mark Donovan and have some, if we're starting to talk to the city about the desal project, I think we need to be resolved in where we're going architecturally on this project. I think we need to get that probably sooner than later, that agenda item.
okay, maybe we can either get that added on our E&O committee item, or perhaps bring that to the board as an item for the board to decide on. I'll leave that up to the general manager and staff to determine where the best forum is for that. I don't have anything to add. Does staff have anything they want to add for a future agenda?
Well, I just wanted to thank you, Mr. Chairman and Director Green. This is Rick Shintaku. I just wanted to agree with you there, and we'll definitely get it back on the agenda that makes sense in regards to the architectural issues with the city. And nothing further for me to add. Thank you very much.
All right. Item G, miscellaneous oral reports. Jody, you just want to give a roll call around the room to see if anybody needs to add anything. That way we can make sure we're touching everybody that is on the call.
Sure. Do you want to start with yourself? Do you have anything, Doug?
I have nothing to add, over.
Okay. Director Bill Green?
No, thank you. I'm good.
Rick Shintaku?
Thanks, Jody. Just one item really quick. I really want to give kudos to all of our operational staff out there taking care of the water, sewer systems, the joint regional system, groundwater recovery, and more. These guys are working tireless hours, and I won't go into details, but quite a bit, and really doing a stellar job of keeping the systems running. So a lot of respect and admiration for what they're doing, along with the office staff. As most of you know, that the office staff have the option to work from home full time, and there's a lot of office staff that are still coming in and making sure that things are running correctly. So really wanted to give kudos to the staff there through this committee item, and that would conclude my report. Thank you. Over.
Mark Cerna?
Nothing further. Thank you.
Joe McDivitt?
Nothing additional. Thank you very much.
Okay, then how about if I just ask, is there any other staff on the call that has anything they would like to add under oral report?
Hi, Jody. This is Pam. Just real quick, since we had an item in regards to the tunnel, I just want to quick update you. Megan Greer, our contracts administrator, has been working really closely with our contact there in regards to our SRF loan and getting the contract for phase 4 and 3 approved. And she said that's going very well, that the state is working from home, the majority of the employees, but she is making headway there. So that's very good news. We are still lagging behind on getting reimbursements in a timely manner. And with the situation with the hotels pretty much being closed, some of our commodity revenue could be going down. I am taking advantage of the line of credit with Opus Bank. So that's where we're at, in regards to the SRF loan. Thank you. Over.
Was there anyone else from staff?
All right. Hearing none, I believe we're up to item H, which is adjournment. Thank you, everybody, for coming to the E&O committee.
Thank you.
Thank you, Doug. Thanks.